So, we're going to start probably with the most contentious area of equipment, which is, the foot systems. And I purposely call them foot systems because I believe that everything should work together. Your feet, the shoes, which are obviously a very important part and critical, but also the socks, and in races like the spine race, things like crampons or ice spikes in English. So everything should work together to both protect your feet, but also make sure that you progress fast and safely throughout the race. So I'm going to share a little bit of what I use in my thinking around foot systems for different conditions. So in normal dry conditions, I normally use the Salomon S labs. This is version number 3. They've been around for a number of years. The reason why I like them is obviously because they sit and fit really well on my feet, and this is the most important element of any shoe. So a lot of people talk about shoe characteristics, either related with the upper layer or the soles or certain characteristics of the shoe. For me, the most important thing is that the shoe sits well on my feet and I feel really comfortable with it. So much that, as you may know, if you know this shoe, this is an alpine shoe, very good for summer and for some, not very technical trails or not very muddy. So in races like the spine, this type of sole would most likely not be very adequate. Why I like this shoe, however, is that its upper layers are very thin and made of a fiber that doesn't gain weight with water. So it's a shoe that remains relatively light even if soaking wet. So what I've done is, and here message on reutilizing as much as you can out of the shoes you have. So I've I normally ask my shoes to be resoled after the first use, and I've put in a more technical sole. I send them to Spain where they refit them. I found this really good shop that fits them really well, so it's a really good job. And this is the shoes that I have completed 80% of the spine this year, and this is how they are. So really great. Again, choose whatever shoe sits well on you. Make sure that eventually, if you need to resole them, do so. Then I had 2 other options for different conditions. So this is my choice of shoes for standard conditions: wet but not too much, muddy but not too much, eventually icy but not too much. If it goes into extremes, then I have 2 other options. So my option number 1 for very muddy trails, if it's really boggy, then I would go with the Salomon Speedcross, but very important, the wide version. So it has a wider front on the shoe, which allows my toes to actually open a little bit more when you do the toe off on the ground. So this would be, I would have used them if the conditions would have been really boggy. They weren't. So what happened was, it was very cold, and in certain places it was really snowed under, especially across the Chiviots in the last part of the race. So what I'd done was, in CP5, I changed to the Ultra 260, which have, this very good 8mm lugs. Which allows for a really nice progression over snow or sort of like frosty ground, and they serve me really well, and I really enjoy them. As this is exactly as they came. I haven't actually washed them, so you can see how snowy it was. So this is the feet, the shoe system. But the shoes work in tandem with the socks. Last year, at the spine, I suffered a lot with my wet feet and blisters because I had too much on. I had, some inner layer socks within, waterproof socks within narrow shoes, and that didn't work well at all. So this year I decided to simplify the system, and the only thing I've used as socks has been, this waterproof socks. So in this case they are Dex shells, the thinner Dex shells that they have. And rather than using multiple sock layers, I just used one sock layer, making sure that I have enough spares to actually put new dry socks pretty much every 2 checkpoints. So the great thing about these socks is that they are actually just a standard sock, and once you put them on, they actually feel quite nice. I tried them on a couple of months just before the race, and I started running on my training races with them, and I really enjoyed how they felt, so I decided to just go with this. As a result, I finished the spine without a single blister, no marks on my feet whatsoever. I was running exactly 1 week after the spine with no injuries. Finally, and very important, if the conditions are very cold, you're going to find loads of ice. There are places where, if you're going to do the spine race on the northern side of the spine race, you're going to be going across Calderon Snout. A couple of other places where you're going to need spikes. Spikes, which I must say, historically, I never valued too much, but this spine actually was great because it taught me that spikes are super important. So these are the ones I use. They're micro spikes, but they are still compliant with race regulations. They have very good metal spikes in here. They sit mostly at the forefront of the feet. I really enjoyed using them, and I regret not using them enough, because just before the race and 2 kilometers before the finish line, I was a little bit lazy to put my spikes on a block of ice on the road. I was too lazy to put them on. As a result, I fell badly, hit my head on the ice. Nothing happened, but it could have happened. I could have gotten an injury. I could have eventually have to quit the race 2 kilometers before the finish line. So do not be lazy about your spikes. Use them as much as needed across the race. These spikes sit really well with these shoes. I've used them, past Calderon Snout with a system like this, which was great. They also sit well with the Ultra 260s. They sit on the forefront, so which is great. You just need to tiptoe your way across the ice blocks. And that's it for fit systems. I hope this was useful, and please do share any other ideas or thoughts or ways that you think I can improve my system.